and investment flows. When I was talking about the trade war between China and United States, we were like mentioning who I was talking. Actually, there are like 12 slides I individually talk about this problem. But at the end of the day, I would like to give a couple numbers, which is very effective, I believe. Every average American, hypothetically, it is not possible, but if they stop using any made in China product, their average cost of living will increase by $20 per day. So make America great again kind of populist approach. Of course, this is not practically possible, first of all. You cannot produce everything in the United States cost-wise. And even if you could, this was a very good article. Average American's cost will increase by $20. When it comes to trade wars, this kind of, I'm against all kind of restrictions and all kind of trade restrictions or shutting down these borders, etc. To me, it is unacceptable, and I can't understand. We are discussing even about those kind of things in 2020. And to me, it's quite populist to say we have factories to keep them alive, then we have to shut down the borders or we have to use protection. No, you don't have to do it, because your country at the end of the day does not consist of only those factories, but there are end users in your countries. Even applies more people who really benefits from those end users, those end buyers who are in this industries using the material, and they need to use cheaper material, of course, same quality, to serve for the same country's own benefit. So whoever says we have to keep the factories alive, to me it's very well populist rhetorics, nothing else. So coming back from there, with this trade war, we see that America is hurt more than China. That's very basic to say that. And we see a lot of Chinese foreign direct investment in the United States is affected for that. But United States foreign direct investments in China is not. I can give you an example. Tesla is one of the big examples. Of course, there is one logic. They can produce in China with less price, and logic will always win over the populism. And at least I want to believe this way.
So in the first 7 months, I'm sorry, relatively in Iran has shown the biggest increase over the production volume in the first 7 months. It's interesting because Iran was one of the most influenced country by the COVID-19. They had many deaths, and then their health system was really having some hard times over at the same period. But I think that in the production wise of the steel, they really managed very well. In Iran, 2019, they produced 14 million tons, 14 million tons, roughly metric ton steel production. But the first 7 months of 2020, Iran was able to increase its production capacity around 10%. Which they reach up to 16 million tons roughly. The remarkable increase is quite interesting, as I said, because they were really, they were really facing with some, difficulties with the struggle of the COVID-19. And then afterwards, the countries who are able to increase their production, as I said, Vietnam, one of them, and the other one is the Egypt. Consequently, Vietnam has increased production capacity around 8%, and then Egypt increased capacity around 2%. So if we look at the situation over the biggest years,
so for the last years, we can say Turkey is increasing their production quantities. So in 2010, it was 29 million, and then we just increased the levels even up to 35 million tons. And 2017, the production quantity was 37 million tons, so which is quite good. And then 2018, we repeat the same. 2019, there was a kind of decrease, but more or less Turkey was, we can say, is producing 35 million tons per year. If we will see in this production, how is the share between electric arc furnace and blast furnaces? I mean, just to understand the general characteristic of Turkish steel production. We have also induction furnaces, but I didn't mention about these numbers. The main production capacity is coming from electric arc furnace and blast furnaces. So if we compare like this for the last, 10 years we have in here, so we can see easily that, the production share is like electric arc furnaces 70% and blast furnaces is something like 30%. So I'm just giving these examples to show how much steel scrap is important for Turkish steel production. That's why I want to give such
Next
details.
slide, please. When we have a look at, let's say, imports and exports of the 7 months of, let's say, this year, we can see that on the hot rolled and the cold rolled side, Turkey is a net importer. Hot rolled mainly coming from CIS countries, Russia and Ukraine, and also from Europe. On the other side, exports are made to nearby countries. Of course, European Union is our biggest market, followed by the countries in the Middle East. On cold rolled, again, we are a net importer, coming again from the similar sources. On the, let's say, export side, we see that, let's say, nearly half of the, let's say, imports were made like this. And on the galvanized side, thanks to many investment in the last 5 years, Turkey became net exporter last year. Previously, let's say, much more tonnages were coming from European Union, but right now, more tonnage is coming from South Korea because of the free trade agreement, where now Turkish mills are making regular exports, mainly to European Union, African countries, Middle East, and anywhere in the world. Coated coil numbers also show that, let's say, Turkey is a very, let's say, net exporter, but since those figures are really low, I'm gonna skip that. Next, please.
So how I see the situation related to scrap side, as Selim has given a very great information about the scrap side, and then he shared his future expectations. To be honest with you, yes, I'm just thinking in the same way. I don't think that there will be a second wave. To think that the world, unfortunately, is not able to dare to compensate a further, declines over the economical situations. And then I believe that there will be no shutdowns or no lockdowns in the forthcoming period. The thing that everybody probably has sharing the same concerns. People, the governments are pretty much afraid, scared because of the impact of the economical circumstances. And then how it's going to affect the scrap side. Turkey, we try to overcome this hard situation with the export, because obviously we had some deep impact from the COVID-19 in our local production or the local consumption. So that's why we try to overcome this situation with the export, and then we are, thanks God that the Chinese market has been ramped up and then recovered fastly. So that's why as a long producers, we were able to sell a lot of material to the Far East market, especially to Hong Kong. So overall, we are pretty much covered with the demand side, especially for the long products. We're pretty much covered until end of November. So that's why the Turkish manufacturers, for the export side, we're confident, and then I don't think that the market will show a sharp increase or a sharp decrease in the forthcoming period. Because how I see the situation based on the scrap side, iron ore prices are pretty much stabilized around $125 up to $130. It's just going up and going down. So it's going to keep the scrap price in a certain level, as Selim told us. So what I expect that when as I said, there could be some slight decreases or the slight increases. So overall, the general picture of the steel market is on the positive side, because all the governments, in order to compensate this critical circumstances of the COVID-19, everybody has published a lot of money, and then governments have cut interest rates to speed up the consumption in the markets, which is pretty much relevant to automobile industry or the construction market. So that's why I believe that in the forthcoming period, the scrap prices might show a little bit, decrease, but the general trend for the whole market will be on the positive side.
Yes. Well, I believe that there will not be dramatic change, either positive or negative for Turkey. Even it will be Democrats or Republicans, this trend will gonna continue. The only way to overcome this is to make agreements with United States. We can see this example as from, let's say, Mexico and Canada. After their agreement, they went back to normals. Even with, for example, with Brazil, they are struggling because when their volumes increased, again, USA government threatened them to cut their, let's say, especially slab shipments to there. So the only way to overcome this is to make trade agreements, nothing else.
So, well, indeed, for this issue, definitely that would be some kind of restriction, and there should be some limit to US supply to Turkey, because as I show in this presentation, US supply is very important to Turkey. But there are also different points. I mean, in any case, let's say the scrap coming from US to Turkey is from the East Coast, and delivering this East Coast scrap to different destinations, to mid of the country, etc., is much more higher transportation cost to ship all these material to Turkey. So another point is mainly in US, they somehow demanding for better qualities, like we call bonus, PNS, bushing, different kind of better qualities. Sure, they can buy some HMS, but this mainly big quantity of HMS is coming to Turkey. So this is the main address. So definitely somehow it can affect, but I don't expect that can create a big decrease in supply from US side to Turkey, because East Coast, in any case, they need to sell to export. So for the export, the biggest country is Turkey. So the address is kind of obvious that where they need to ship their material somehow.